up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new here. Hey, hello, my name is Angela and I make videos about law school, lawyer life, and all things in between. So y'all saw me hesitate there because I was like, I used to make videos, but I haven't made a video in like 6 months. So hi guys, welcome back. Your girl is back. I know you guys are wondering where I have been. Y'all, I've been thinking about y'all. I haven't forgot about you guys. I just took a break from making content because you guys know I had a son. I started my new career in-house. I just was finding my groove, y'all. And y'all see this big smile on my face because I am so happy to be back. I did miss you guys. I have life figured out. I got my mommy routine now. I'm thriving in my pivot in my career, and so it's time to get back to making the content because you guys still DM me, you guys still email me. I've still been doing some consultations kind of low-key, not really advertising it, but still been doing my consults, and so I'm happy to be back. And so I just want to let you guys know, thank you so much for sticking in there with me. Thank you to those who have checked in on me, or when I pop up every now and then, y'all say, hey, your girl is back. Let's get into the video. So I've gotten a few questions from you guys about virtual or online law school and what are my thoughts on that and whether I think it's a good idea and all those things. I'm going to tell you guys my personal opinion, but I also want to talk about some of the pros and cons because virtual law school, or as a lot of JD programs are calling it, distance education is on the rise, right? Because post-pandemic, like during the pandemic, we were all working from home. Now that kind of return to work, return to office, return to school is back. Some people aren't returning. Like your girl, I work from home fully, okay? Most people are on a hybrid schedule, and so law schools have kind of also adopted this hybrid model, and then there are some fully online schools, okay? So that's what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about the fully online distance education JD programs, okay? So basically, let's go ahead and talk about some of the pros and some of the cons, okay? So let's start with the good first. So pros, flexibility, okay? Now more than ever do I understand the importance of flexibility within anything that I'm doing, whether that be my job, any activities I'm involved in, because I am now a working mother, okay? And the kids get sick, things with work come up, all sorts of things. Life just happens, right? So flexibility is key in these online education programs because you don't have to show up anywhere. You can kind of learn at your leisure, learn at your own pace, and you just don't have some of the demands that an in-person traditional law school would require. The next pro is it's cheaper. In this economy, we're always looking for the deal. And online education programs are going to be significantly cheaper than your traditional in-person law school. And it's more than just tuition, right? Tuition's obviously going to be cheaper, but also your commute. You know, you're not driving anywhere. Your transportation, whether you take public transportation or drive, you know, to your traditional law school classes, that cost is cut out, that transportation cost, because you're at home, you're at the computer, you're at the desk. Another thing about being virtual is your location. Many people, when they get accepted to law school, they have to move to where their law school is. Like, for example, myself, I was living in my college town and then moved to Houston to go to law school. Many people move for whatever law school they get accepted into. So that whole picking up your life and moving it aspect is no longer when you're talking about distance education. The other pro that I found people talk about is the ability to kind of maintain your current income, stay with your current job. Now this is highly important for a lot of my people who have maybe taken some time off, people who are making law their second career, working parents, people who already have responsibilities outside of themselves, you know, not us kind of right after undergrad go to law school track where, you know, we can be super selfish and it's okay that we're broke because we don't have any responsibilities. I'm talking about my people who have built up a career, have responsibilities, have an income that they'd like to maintain. Those are the types of people that find the online law school programs really nice because they can continue to work. So those are some of the biggest pros that I've seen with online law school, okay? Let's talk about the cons, okay? Because there are a few cons. The biggest con, and this one I need you guys to pay attention if you are considering an online school. Okay, so editing Angela here. I wanted to come in and correct my statement. Someone pointed this out and they were 100% correct. So in the video, I originally said that there are no ABA accredited fully online schools, because most of the online schools that are ABA accredited are a hybrid version, but there are about 5 or 6 schools that have been approved, most of them very recently. And so I wanted to come in and correct that, because I do not want to give you guys misinformation. However, this does not mean you should not be weary, that you should not do your research and fully vet the school, okay? Because a lot of these cons still stand, even if it is ABA accredited. And so I just want you guys to go to that link that I put in my description box so you can see exactly which schools are, but still understand that most of the fully online schools are not. But I did not want to make such an unequivocal statement that is not true. There are hybrid options where you can go some online, some, and then they have some in-person requirements. So that is just something to know. I did want to put that out there. Another con, you don't get hands-on in-person experience as you would in your traditional schools. Now, I personally think this is a huge one as well, because there's nothing like that first year of law school when you have your section and you guys have all your classes together and you guys are learning, you're meeting people, you're talking to your professors, you're going to organization events, you're kind of getting immersed in this new law school world, and you're learning while doing it, and you can go ask a question, you can go to your professor, go right up to him or her after class and ask a question, you can talk to your colleague right next to you. You're just going to genuinely build relationships because you guys are in a cohort. Now, there is a cohort concept when you go to school online, from my understanding from talking to some of the people that I've done consultations with, but it's a different field than in person. So that's something to consider. So that's something to consider. Along those lines, we're talking about the social aspect. So you lose that social advantage. I think there's a disadvantage for social interactions with people as it relates to going to online school, but also losing access to some of those experience and extracurriculars in law school, like the clinics and other kind of organizations that you are involved in, and actually go to meetings, go to events, attend, and interact with people. Another con is it's new, right? Like I said, we live in a virtual world today. Almost everything is virtual. If you want it to be post-pandemic, even with the return to work efforts and all that stuff, a lot of things are still virtual, and there's always virtual options. But virtual school online permanently is new. There's a lot of kinks that these law schools are working out to see what works. And so it's kind of like with anything. I don't know if you guys ever heard, like, whenever there's a first generation of some technology that comes out, they always say don't buy it because it's gonna go to crap, because they're still working out the kinks, they're still learning what works, they're still kind of refining their process. That is my impression that I get from this online distance education, that they're still working out the kinks yet. It's not that they won't get to it, but there's probably a lot of like issues and things that these schools are running into because it's something that's new. On top of the schools kind of experiencing difficulties with the newness and working out the kinks, you also have to think about the perception from the legal community. And I mean, you know, when you're talking about jobs, law firms, organizations, governmental entities, when they're seeing that you go to a fully online school, there might be some hesitation on their part. There might be some preference over your more traditional JD programs over the online school because of the lack of maybe prestige or track record with some of these schools. And that's to be expected with anything. But I think that's heightened when you talk about the legal field, because as we all know, whether you love it or hate it, the legal field is very old school, it's very prestige driven. And that's just kind of a hurdle that some of these online schools and the attendees and graduates of those schools are going to have to probably face when they're out, are probably going to have to face when they're out interviewing and networking and trying to kind of get their foot in the door in certain spaces. You know, even if you're the best of the best. So say you are the top of the class at your online JD program. Well, if you're in the top of the class at a traditional, well-known law school, they're going to rank you too, and they're probably going to rank the traditional experience higher because they're more familiar with it, ABA accredited, those types of things. So that's just something to think about, that you kind of got to weigh those pros and cons. The next con is that it's all dependent on technology, right? And we all know technology is not perfect. While your traditional students are definitely relying on technology, whether that be their laptop, their internet, their email, all those things, they still do go in person. They still can go listen to the lecture. They still can be there and go talk to the professor. For example, if you are in online school and your computer crashes, your internet's out for a few days because of a storm, there's so many things that if technology stops working or if there's issues with it, can kind of halt everything. So that's just something to think about. Again, your traditional students use technology, so I don't know if that's a huge one, but it is something to consider. So we talked about some pros, we talked about some cons. Now let's just talk about things to consider, right? If you are trying to decide whether this program is right for you, here are some things you should think about when you're making your decision. First, one of the biggest things is you're gonna have to determine whether this kind of online JD program aligns with your learning style. So I'll give you a little story. So back in the day, before the pandemic, we had the option to like work from home, every now and then, maybe once a week, or, if you had a doctor's appointment, didn't want to drive to the office, whatever, right? I literally never worked from home. I never did. Not if I actually wanted to be productive, because I could not be productive. I didn't think I was capable of working from home until the pandemic happened. And then I had to, and I still had to build those hours and meet those hours. And I realized quickly, when you have stuff to do, you're going to get your work done. However, you have to understand your learning style and whether it aligns with your learning style, because there's going to have to be a lot of self-accountability, a lot of structure, a lot of discipline, and motivating yourself to get up, do your lectures, do what you need to do, because there's that lack of accountability. There's no cold calling. I mean, I guess maybe there's a mechanism, maybe some schools might try to implement that replaces, the effective cold calling, but there's nothing like that in person, stand up and recite in front of the professor and your whole entire class that like forces you to make sure you read. It's just going to be a different level of self accountability that is required for you to succeed in these online programs. The next thing to consider is the school. You need to vet the school like so hard, okay? Like vet that school, learn everything you can, ask all the questions, ask to talk to current students or former graduates of the school, ask all the questions to make sure that that school is right for you, particularly these online learning schools, because they are new, the programs are new, and you really want to understand what your experience is going to be like. You need to see what daily life looks like. You need to understand accreditations and track their progress or their work towards getting ABA accredited. You need to understand your accessibility to professors, programs, what resources they have to kind of supplement the lack of in-person interactions and access to people. A big one I would ask is about statistics for their students who have graduated. Where did they end up? What are they doing now? Do they pass the bar? What is the bar passage rate? All those types of questions that you really should understand and get to know the program before you decide to take that leap. Also, you should consider what your career aspirations are. For example, if you know that your goal is to move to Houston, Texas and become a big law attorney like I did straight out of law school, then you know that the online JD program is not the best choice for where you want to be, because these schools are not yet accredited, so you cannot sit for the bar exam in states like Texas and many other states. So you can't even sit for the bar exam to even become a practicing attorney in Texas.
Again, I just want to clarify that this statement is talking about the majority of the fully online schools that are not ABA accredited. It's not talking about the ones that are and then also meet the requirements to sit for the bar exam in particular states. So like St. Mary's in Texas, you could go there, it's ABA accredited, and you could sit for the bar exam in Texas, but not guaranteed for other states. And that is where the research part is going to come in. So when you're looking at these schools, even if it is accredited, you need to see what states you will be eligible to sit for the bar exam.
And then again, prestige matters. So like I said, the accreditation thing is a huge blocker for many, many states when it comes to sitting for the bar exam and becoming a practicing attorney. But then further than that, prestige matters as well. So again, certain jobs, certain firms, certain places are probably not even going to at least right out the gate consider you, because you come from a school with no track record, no accreditation, those types of things. So just consider what you want your career to be. Now, if you're going to law school because you want the background of a JD, but you're going to work into compliance or politics or things that don't require you to actually have a law license, that might be for you. But if you want to go down a more traditional legal track, you want to make sure that you understand what your options are if you do attend one of these online JD programs. All right, so those are the things that I think you should consider as you're making your decision. Now, I did say that I was going to talk about my personal opinion on online law schools. I do want to give a disclaimer, although y'all don't need one, but I do want a disclaimer that I am not the end-all be-all. I don't know everything. I make mistakes. I don't know everything. This is just my personal opinion. You ultimately do what's best for you. My personal opinion is that at this point in time, I would forego any sort of online, fully online JD program. I think that the best course is to kind of sit back, let the kinks get worked out, let it get a little bit more support in the legal field. I would say follow the ABA. When the ABA decides that some schools can be accredited, then now we could take a second look. But right now, forgo participating in any of those types of online programs until they get the accreditation and the track record worked out a little bit better. Like it or not, law is a very traditional career field, and so prestige, history, track record, support from the ABA, all that stuff matters. And so that is just my personal opinion. Another personal opinion I have about some of these online law schools is I think they can be a little bit predatory because they tend to accept students that maybe wouldn't have gotten accepted into some of the traditional programs, and they kind of package it like, oh, this is good for you because it's flexible. We allow you to do these things. We allow you to work. We allow you to do all these things. But there's reason why certain guardrails are put in place in law school. I don't think all guardrails in law school are proper or necessary, but some of them are. So I think some of these programs are really just looking to make revenue off of people because they can easily get accepted into some of these law schools. So I would just say be careful. I do have to be honest and say I do not have any personal experience with online law schools. I went to a traditional school. That wasn't even a thing that I know of. Fully online schools weren't even a thing that I know of when I was in law school. And so just something to be careful. Now, I have heard, one of my consults was telling me that a school she goes to that offers traditional also offered online. So maybe that's some sort of hybrid program, which might be different. But for the fully online program, from consults that I had, I have students expressing a lot of frustration, a lot of difficulty, lack of access to their professors, lack of feeling like they have support. So those are just some of the complaints that I've gotten in my one-on-ones, and it aligns kind of with my thoughts on online school at this point. So that's just my personal opinion. Ultimately, it's a personal decision for you. You do what's best for you. My only advice is to vet properly, do your research, and then make your decision from there. Now, for those of you who are watching this video and you have experience with a fully online law school or even partially, I would love for you to chime in the comments and let us know your thoughts, because on this channel, we love personal experience. We love for people to talk about what they've experienced personally so we can get insight. We definitely read the comments to see what everyone else is saying. This is a legal community. We've been gone, but we're back. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Whether you are new or you're one of my OGs, stay tuned. I got more content coming for you guys. Check the description box. We're going to get the Facebook back going. Consults are still a thing. I will leave the link to the consults in my description box. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.